inside the classroom, I've seen it outside the classroom. It felt more like an experiential learning for me. And then I'd like to know more about Impact Lab from someone who kind of thought about it and then brought it into Vedica's program. So let's start with the first question. So when you first decided to introduce an Impact Lab program within the Vedica Scholars Programme, so what was your thinking behind it? Was there something that you were trying to build or something that you were trying to fix?
Thank you, great question, and I'm delighted to be interviewed by one of our scholars, and it's a pleasure to be able to tell you why we do the Impact Lab. But you know, Manasvita, one of the biggest USPs of the Vedica program has always been our personal growth track. Because I feel like everybody provides an education, you know, the competencies for management, but you know as well as anybody else that women go through that education, but then they don't convert it into lifelong employment, right? And the research that we did to show what came in the way, why wasn't the education translating into break-free careers, distinctive careers, meaningful careers, what was making it difficult for women to stay in the workforce, that whole set of issues outside of the core management education was a series of things that relate to confidence, that relate to assertiveness, that relate to executive presence, that relate to certain traits like drive, like ambition, some mindsets that come in our way. Traditionally women have shied away from conflict and difficult conversations because we are conditioned a certain way. And often what happens is that when women do really well, if they don't drop off and they're considered high potential, then organizations will put them through these programs where they were training on this. We decided very early on, why wouldn't our scholars enter the workforce with this, equipped with these skills and with the knowledge of what it's going to take to succeed in the workplace without a break and in a very, very meaningful way. So the personal growth track brought all of this together, and that's how we've been running it. But you know, in the last year and a half, I've started to feel that while anecdotally people tell me that this is really the secret sauce at Vedica, they really value it, it's what distinguishes us from everybody else, and you now know the data that compared to other programs where the retention rate in the workforce is roughly 20%, retention rate after the Vedica program is 93%, right? It's like lots of our alums, 93% of our alums are in full-time break-free careers after 10 years. So that feels like something is working. Now, if that is our personal growth track and that's the impact it's having, I felt that we wanted to be able to also make it more structured and measured. Right? We had a lot of programs or individual courses that built into the personal growth track. But last year we started thinking about this and saying, how can an individual track their journey? How can we as an institution see what impact the personal growth track is having? But also we wanted the cohort to be able to see it for themselves and for each other. And I was delighted when I met Sarah, who runs Entendido and is a long-time leadership and training person, but she also does a lot of experiential work. But I think what is nicest about Entendido and Sarah is that they spend time listening and understanding what our objectives were. And once they understood it, we asked them whether they could become like sutradhars for Vedica's personal growth track. So somebody who holds, like there's an academic program that holds our scholars from beginning to end on the academic program. What about the personal growth journey, transformation, all of that? So with Entendido and the Vedica Impact Lab, we are able to track a scholar's journey from the beginning of the program till the end of the program on all the personal transformation goals. And that's how the Vedica Impact Lab was born, and I'm super excited because I've got very good early feedback from all of you, but also from the cohort, from the facilitators, and we can see the impact. And the thing is that the way it's going, we've got these pillars that make up for professionalism and for successful careers. What do you require for that? And all those elements have become modules. But what I'm most excited by is that an individual will be able to assess themselves. Yeah. Your peers will assess you. It's very easy for you to say, oh, I feel more confident. But are you perceived as more confident? So So there is your own assessment, then there are your peers saying, oh yeah, Manasvita's come a long way, or saying, she thinks she's made more progress and she really has. And then there is an instructor's report as well. So in some ways, the Vedica Impact Lab has become like a sutradhar for the personal transformation growth journey that we expect and see for all of us. So we're very, very excited.
Thank you so much. And what you said made sense. I mean, to touch base on personal growth along with the leadership qualities that Vedica tries to inculcate in each and every scholar that they kind of bring into program. I think it was very encouraging, and the fact that you mentioned 93% of alums still being in the workforce, I mean, that's pretty amazing. And to build on that, to build on personal growth segment, so did you see a specific incident or a student that brought in a real change or a behavioral shift that you wouldn't have seen it a year back?
The personal growth track has always worked well, right? So the 10-year journey is full of examples of deep transformation. I think one of our early students, when she joined, she said she was very nervous, she was nervous even in the interview, said she couldn't speak, and I still remember after the first communications baselining program, she broke down and said, I just can't do this. And 8 months into the program, she was actually comparing our festival. I still remember this one young woman who came, she could barely, English was poor. 6 months out, she was asking a question in a conference with 150 people. So I think that transformation we have always watched, but I think the easiest way for me to explain it to you is with myself. That I feel like I grow and I change with our scholars based on what I see them go through. So the whether it's incidents which come up all the time, but I think just watching the difference in the classroom from the time the cohort comes in September, by January, February, we can start seeing the difference. I think the shift now is that we are going to make it much more measurable. Up till now, it was observed and then we responded to that observation. Now it's going to be more structured and measurable.
Yeah, of course. I can attest to the fact that people do see real shift when they come to Vedica. I was pretty confident when I came to Vedica, but then that amplified when this college gave me a platform to present myself in a more raw manner, where teachers were supportive, the TAs, the faculty, you were very supportive of the students who wanted to participate, wanted to kind of show their real talent and raw talent, and I really appreciate that about our college. Now, if we talk more about this program, let's say one of your peer institution leads talks about, kind of bringing Impact Lab to their college. What is something that you would like to suggest them, how they should do it, and what is something that they should avoid doing?
See, I think there's no question of the value of this program, and in fact, I would tell everyone that if we've discovered this magic sauce, then the more places we can take it, or people can, make their own with these ingredients, the better it is. Manasvita, our commitment is to young women and their lives. They should have great lives, great careers, and just be happy and successful. So, however that is possible, whether it is by replicating the Vedica model, or it is by other institutions taking those ingredients and packaging it the way they want and delivering it to their students, would be great. My dream is that we can have the Vedica Impact Lab in all kinds of institutions. And by the way, we are launching the Vedica Impact Lab for undergraduate students in Miranda House this summer. So they saw what we do, we've signed an MOU with them, they're very keen that we now take it, and Vedica's mission is, we work with all of you at the postgraduate level. If we can take some of these things to undergraduates, to high school after that, or to people who are already in the workforce, that magic sauce has the potential to do good and to really make a difference to a young woman's life at every life point. So the Vedica Impact Lab is already going to be in Miranda and some other new colleges, but we will open it up to young women. But I feel every college that sees the value for young women to be just much better equipped, so that education translates into lifelong careers and economic agency, we would be delighted, and I would recommend it to everyone to find some way of supplementing the core management or whatever other higher education they deliver with something that makes sure that that education becomes economic agency and economic independence for life.
Perfect. Hearing that we've already inspired colleges like Miranda and other DU colleges to kind of inculcate Impact Lab, it is very encouraging and fascinating, because I think we are on a path where we will be able to influence young women's life in much bigger manner. And I really appreciate you having this conversation with me. It was very encouraging, and I kind of feel honored to be kind of, sitting here talking to you about a program that helped me, my friends, my peers, other scholars to kind of gain more confidence, see what drive is, what motivation is. So I think that this was pretty encouraging, as I said. So thank you so much, Anuradha.
Thank you so much, and continue to imbibe the Impact Lab and spread it.
Absolutely.
Spread it in your families, spread it amongst your friends, your cousins, and also the conversations that it inspires with family members, because the ripple of change that every Vedica scholar brings into the world amplifies every time you shine bright and spread what you've learned. Okay? Thank you. Thank you for this.